I, with my 78 well-lived years, can say that I've learned a lot on this journey. Let's dive in. I'll explain everything step by step, as if we were having a cup of coffee on the porch. 1. Being your own safety net. You know, my children, as we get older, we need to be smart and take care of ourselves. It's like being our own guardian angel. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in the kitchen making cornbread when I slipped on a banana peel that had fallen on the floor. Oh my goodness, there I was, lying on the ground, unable to get up. That's when I realized, Martha, that's my name, you need to be better prepared for these situations. After that, I bought one of those medical alert devices. It's a beauty. It hangs around your neck just like a necklace. If something happens, you just press the button and it calls for help. I also started keeping the phone always. Nearby, I put one in the living room, another in the bedroom, and even one in the bathroom. It might seem like overkill, but it's better to be safe than sorry, isn't it? Oh, and don't forget to make a list with important numbers: doctor, pharmacy, neighbors, and of course your children and grandchildren. Keep this list clearly visible, close to the phone. That way, if you need it, everything's right at hand. 2. Loneliness can be real, even for introverts. Look, I've always been a person who liked my own little corner, you know. When I was younger, I loved staying at home reading my books or crocheting, but I confess that over time, the house started feeling too quiet. The kids all grown up, my husband passed away. That's when you start missing the hustle and bustle, a conversation. That's when I decided to adopt my little companion, Fluffy. She's a mixed breed dog I found on the street. My goodness, what joy she brought to my life. Now I have someone to talk to, even if she only responds with barks. Someone to take care of, and who keeps me company on cold nights. But an elderly person doesn't live by dog alone, right? I started participating in a knitting group at the church. Every Wednesday we get together to knit and gossip a little. It's so good. We laugh, tell stories, and even make some beautiful pieces to donate. 3. Home maintenance can become more difficult. Oh my dears, let me tell you something. Keeping the house in order has become much more complicated over the years. That broom I used to whisk around in the blink of an eye now seems to weigh a ton. And don't even get me started on cleaning the windows. It's almost like Olympic gymnastics. I remember one time I tried to change a light bulb by myself. I climbed up that wobbly ladder, all brave. When I got to the top, my legs started shaking like a leaf. I was so scared of falling that I yelled for help. It was the neighbor who came to my rescue. How embarrassing, my goodness. After that, I learned there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Now I have a young lady who comes once a week to do the heavy cleaning. For day-to-day tasks, I bought some gadgets that make life easier. A long-handled duster, a lighter broom, and even a little robot that mops the floor by itself. It's a marvel of technology, I tell you. Oh, and there's one more thing I discovered. Sometimes less is more. I downsized my belongings, donated what I wasn't using anymore. Now I have less to clean and organize. More time left to do what I really enjoy. 4. Daily routines become essential. You know, my dears, when we get older, routine becomes our best friend. It's what gives meaning to our days, helps us keep our body and mind active. I'll tell you about my routine. Who knows, it might inspire you. Every day I wake up early with the rooster's crow. Actually, it's the alarm clock, but I like to pretend I live on a farm. The first thing I do is thank for another day of life. Then I go to the kitchen to prepare my coffee. Oh, this moment is sacred. The smell of brewing coffee, the toasted bread, it makes your mouth water. After coffee, I go take care of my plants. I have a small vegetable garden in the backyard. I talk to each lettuce plant, water the flowers. It's therapy. Then it's time for a shower and to get dressed. Even living alone, I make a point of dressing up and combing my hair every day. After all, you never know who might show up, right? In the afternoon, I like to do something different. Sometimes I read a book, other times I do crossword puzzles or watch a soap opera. And at the end of the day, I never skip my walk around the block. It's just a short stroll, but it makes all the difference for the body and mind. This routine helps me keep my feet on the ground. Without it, I confess that sometimes I felt a bit lost, not knowing what to do with so much free time. Now, every little thing I do has its value, its special moment. Cooking for yourself can be challenging, but rewarding. Cooking. This is an art that I've learned to appreciate even more now that I'm alone. I confess that at first it was difficult cooking just for myself. It seemed like a waste. I kept thinking, why make a big pot of food if it's just me eating? But then, my dears, I discovered that cooking for myself is an act of self-love. It's taking care of myself, giving myself the pleasure of a tasty and nutritious meal. Of course, I had to adapt some things. The recipes that used to feed an army, I now make in smaller portions. I remember one time I decided to make beans. I put that huge pot on the stove, as if I was still cooking for the whole family. The result? I ate beans for 2 weeks. Even the neighbors got some after that. I learned to be smarter. Now I make small quantities and freeze individual portions. It's so handy. When I'm not in the mood to cook, I just grab one of these portions from the freezer, heat it up, and voila! Homemade healthy meal on the table. And there's more. I discovered that cooking is a great way to pass the time. Sometimes I find myself experimenting with new recipes, mixing ingredients. Just the other day I made a carrot cake that turned out delicious. I ate a small piece and took the rest to the knitting group. It was a hit. 6. Silence can be a blessing and a curse. Look, there are days when silence is a true blessing. I remember when the house was always full, with kids running around, the TV on, the dog barking. Sometimes I just wanted a minute of peace. Now, I have all the silence I want. But you know, my dears, sometimes this same silence can be a bit scary. There are nights when I wake up and the silence is so deep it gives me goosebumps. That's when I discovered some little tricks to deal with it. First, I bought a small radio. It's not one of those modern things, no, it's an old-fashioned radio, one of those that play AM/FM. I leave it on low during the day just to have some background noise. It's like having someone talking to me. I also discovered the wonderful world of podcasts. My grandson taught me how to use them. They're like radio programs, but on the cell phone. There's everything. Stories, news, music. When the silence gets too heavy, I put on a podcast, and the TV, that became my companion. I don't stay glued to it all day, but sometimes I leave it on just to have some movement in the house. I especially like cooking shows and soap operas. It's almost like having visitors at home. But I also learn to appreciate the silence. Sometimes I sit on the porch and just listen to the birds, the wind in the trees. It's a moment of peace, of connection with myself. In these moments, I'm grateful for having this time just for me. 7. Staying active requires intention. My dears, I'll tell you something. Staying still is the worst thing we can do when we get older. At first, I confess that laziness hit hard. Today I won't get out of bed. Today I won't do anything. But I soon realized that this only made me feel worse, so I decided that I was going to move, even if just a little bit. Every day I started slow, you know. First, some walks around the house. Then I decided I'd take a walk around the block every afternoon. At first, I'd come back all out of breath. But with time, it got easier. I discovered that taking care of the garden is great exercise, squatting to plant. Standing up to water, it's almost like gymnastics. And the best part, in the end, I have beautiful flowers to brighten up the house. I also joined a stretching class for seniors at the local community center. It's once a week, but it makes all the difference. The teacher shows us exercises we can do at home too. It helps keep the joints less rusty, you know. And guess what's funny? The other day, my granddaughter taught me how to dance. That's right, dance. She put on some lively music and pulled me into the living room. At first, I felt awkward, but then I got into the fun. We laughed so much, and the next day I confess I felt muscles I didn't even know existed. The important thing, my dears, is not to stay still. Even if it's just getting up from the sofa and taking a little walk around the house, it makes a difference. The body appreciates it, and the mind feels lighter too. 8. The perception of time can change. You know, my dears, one funny thing I noticed living alone is how time seems different. Sometimes I feel like the days are flying by. Other times, it seems like the clock has stopped. I remember one day I woke up early, had my coffee, read a little when I looked. It was already lunchtime. I was surprised. I hadn't even noticed time passing. On another day, I was waiting for a call from my son. Oh, how that day took forever to pass. Every minute felt like an eternity. That's when I realized I needed to create my own rhythm. I started marking some things on the calendar, you know. It doesn't have to be anything grand. Sometimes it's just, today I'll bake a cake or laundry day. This helps me have a better sense of the days. I also started having special days of the week. Every Monday, for example, is manicure day. On Wednesday, I go to the knitting group. On Saturday, I do a more thorough cleaning. This way, even if the days seem the same, I know what part of the week I'm in. And there's more. I discovered it's good to have things to look forward to. So I schedule meetups with friends, arrange to have lunch with the kids on Sunday. This gives a special flavor to the week, you know? It's like time gains a purpose. Oh, and I can't forget to mention my calendar on the kitchen wall. Every morning I make a point of crossing out the previous day. It's a simple little ritual, but it helps me keep my feet on the ground to know that, yes, time is passing, and each day is precious. 9. Letting go and decluttering become more difficult. Oh, my dears, I'll confess something. Getting rid of my things is quite a challenge. Every little thing seems to have a story, a memory. That old dress. I wore it to my daughter's 15th birthday party, the broken radio. It was a gift from my late husband. It's hard to look at these things and say goodbye. But you know, over time I realized my house was getting cluttered. There was so much stuff you could barely walk. That's when I decided to do a cleanup. It wasn't easy, I tell you. I started slow, one room at a time. First, I separated things into 3 piles: what I really used, what I could donate, and what was broken and needed to go in the trash. For things with sentimental value, I arranged a special box. This way, I can keep the memories without them taking over the whole house. I remember one day I was trying to get rid of some old pots. I spent hours looking at them, remembering all the Sunday lunches I had prepared in them. In the end, I decided to keep just one, my favorite. The others, I donated to a young lady who was getting married. I was happy knowing those pots would help build new stories. And you know what I discovered? The fewer things I have, the easier it is to take care of the house. Now I can clean everything faster, find things more easily. It's like the house has become lighter. Of course, I'll continue sharing about my experience as an elderly lady living alone. Let's go on. 10. Social invitations decrease, but it's necessary to create your own fun. Ah, my dears, one thing I noticed over the years is that the phone doesn't ring as much as it used to. I remember when I was younger, there was always an invitation for tea, a birthday party, a christening. Now things are quieter. But you know what? I learned that we can't just wait for the world to knock on our door. We have to go after our own joy. That's how I started organizing my own Tea at 5. Every Saturday, I invite some friends over for a little snack here at home. Nothing too complicated, you see? A simple cake, some cookies, tea or coffee. The important thing is the company. We catch up, have some good laughs. It's delightful. I also started going to church more often, not just for Sunday Mass, but for activities during the week. There's a prayer, group, choir, charity, bingo. It's a great way to meet new people and help others at the same time. And you know what else? I discovered the internet. My grandson taught me how to use the computer, and now I participate in some online groups for people my age. We exchange recipes, tell stories. Sometimes we even do video calls. It's almost like having a new group of friends, except everyone's in their own home. The secret, my dears, is not to stay still waiting. If there's no party to go to, make your own little party. If there's no club to attend, invent your own club. Life is too short to sit around waiting for things to happen. 11. Taking care of yourself is even more important. Look, I'll tell you something. When you live alone, it's easy to relax on personal care. After all, who's going to see if we're in our pajamas all day, right? But I learned that taking care of myself isn't just for others to see. It's for me to feel good. I started creating a self-care routine. Every morning, after breakfast, I take a good shower, Dress in clean and comfortable clothes, put some cream on my face. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, you see. But this ritual helps me start the text here, ashamed to ask for help when I need it, whether it's to reach something on a high shelf or to understand a bill that arrived. Asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. You know, my dears, living alone in your golden years has its challenges, but it also has its joys. It's an opportunity to get to know ourselves better, to do things our way in our own time. Of course, sometimes we miss family, friends who have passed on, but we learn to value each moment, each visit, each phone call. The important thing is to maintain a positive attitude, I always say. Each day is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So, let's enjoy every minute, do what we like, take care of ourselves and those around us, and remember, it's never too late to learn new things, make new friends, start a new hobby. I, for example, started painting at 75. I never thought I had a knack for it, but look at that. I discovered a talent I didn't even know I had. Oh, and one last little thing, don't be afraid to prepare for the unexpected. Keep important documents organized, have emergency numbers at hand, talk to your family about your wishes and preferences. This isn't being pessimistic, it's being realistic and careful. Certainly, I'll continue with the translation. In the end, living alone in your golden years can be a very rewarding experience. It's a time to reflect on life, to make peace with the past and to create new memories. It's a time to be gentle with ourselves, to give ourselves that love we may not have had time to give before. So, my dears, live each day with joy, with purpose. Take care of yourselves, love yourselves, and remember, life is a precious gift, no matter what age we are. Let's make the most of it. And so, with these words of wisdom and experience, I end my chat with you. I hope these reflections and advice can help those who are living or preparing to live alone in their golden years. Always remember, you are valuable, you are important, and you deserve all the love and care in the world, especially the love and care you can give to yourself. Take care, my dears, and until our next chat.